couple years ago, a friend of mine, an online friend of mine, on a forum called the Patriot Woodworker. By the way, it's a real friendly place. I recommend you check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description. He posted a project he did where he used plastic threads from different sized bottles to make threaded boxes out of wood. I thought it was a good idea, and I never pursued it. But I never forgot about it either. Recently, I was looking at a prescription bottle, and these things pile up. Seems like every time you go to the doctor, you get another maintenance drug. But this one uses a thumb lock. And I thought, if I could turn that lock away, I maybe could use this to make a little box. Maybe for toothpicks, candy, a little pill box for a lady's purse, although it'd be pretty big for that. Matches when you're camping, whatever. So I did. And to see if the idea would work, I made this little box. I used a bigger bottle for this one, but I thought it turned out pretty well. I like the idea of it, so I decided to make some more. As I was playing with this idea, I discovered something that I never knew. I always thought these lids were shaped funny, but it never occurred to me why they were shaped the way they are. I discovered that the lid is actually reversible. Who knew that? I didn't know. Never really thought about it. My daughter, who happens to be in the medical profession, tells me that's for people with arthritis. It might be difficult for them to operate this thumb lock. Well, one thing leads to another, and that gave me the idea. Maybe I could make a double box with this lid in the center between the threads from two of these bottles. And that's how this came about. Kind of an egg shape. Egg shapes are kind of arbitrary. Anyway, the male portion of the threads makes the top of the box, or vice versa. And the other portion makes the bottom of the box. I'm going to show how I make one of these double boxes, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. The first thing I'm going to do is make the piece for the lid. This happens to be a little piece of mahogany. The thickness is about the same thickness as the big part of the lid. It's important when you're choosing material for this project to size it for the lid. And this is a mistake I've made. If a person sizes it for the bottle, it's probably not going to be big enough to make the lid work. So when I'm picking out material, I always make sure I've got plenty of room around the lid for turning. I'll fasten this on my waste block with hot melt glue. Doesn't take very much. Let that cool for a minute. See, this drill bit I think is 1.5 inches, and it's just smaller than the circumference of this polygon area. turning about 500 RPM. Anything faster than that burns the drill bit. I'm going to drill all the way through. When I get close, I'm going to go really slow to give the drill bit time to cut so I don't get a lot of tear out on the back. It just does not quite fit. This does not want to be a real snug fit. It wants to fit nice. It does not want to be a press fit. Not very much material that's going to end up being around it. It's easy to split this out along the grain. Just going to take a real light cut with my skew laying flat, just about on center. I'm watching the opposite side from where I'm cutting. I know you can't see it very well, but I'm watching that area. That way I can tell if I'm going in straight, how deep I am. I'm not trying to watch the cut. I'm watching the opposite side, just like when turning a bowl. Okay, that's a nice fit. Now I want to make another cut to accept this little flanged area. I want it to just be under the surface of the wood. I'm going to use that to mark my cut. I'm going to use a 5mm Badan for that cut. That'll give me a nice square bottom on it. Just a little bit deeper. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to go just a little bit more. Could also use a flat scraper for that cut. I just prefer the Badan. It's just such a versatile tool. Okay, that's good. This will get epoxied in. I'll be very careful not to get any squeeze out here or here. I'll put the glue on this area only. I read online that CA glue will work. Every one that I've tried to do with CA glue has failed. So I went to epoxy and I've not had any more problems. While the epoxy is setting on the lid, I'm going to go ahead and separate the threads from these bottles. It just happens this bottle fits on the inside portion of my chuck. So I'm just going to chuck it up in there. Bring my cone center up. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. First thing I'm going to do is turn this lock away. I'll use my 1/2-inch skew for that. When I first started doing these, I thought all I needed was the flange and the threads. But that's just not enough surface area for the epoxy to grip. So I'm going to leave about 3/8 of the bottle before I separate this off, when I separate it off. First I'm going to rough this up to give it some tooth. That will help the epoxy stick. I'm also going to cut 3 or 4 little grooves in that. It's very shallow, but just something to rough the surface up. There's the male portion of the threads. And now I'm going to create the female portion for the top of the lid. This time I'm going to turn the lock completely away. I'm going to turn the lock away, and then I'm going to turn the threads away, and then I'll rough it up and part it off just like the other one. there's the male and female threads for the lid. Next step is going to be putting the threads in a piece of wood.